Hi there and welcome to this 2-minute tips video, and today we're going to be looking at power off delay. One of the challenges with modern mirrorless cameras is we get much less battery life compared to a traditional DSLR. And therefore thinking about how we can conserve power and extend the life of the batteries is quite important. And that's where power off delay on the Z series cameras comes into play. This functionality allows us to decide how long it is before the LCD, the EVF and the control panel turn off automatically after the last user interaction. We can set different settings for when we're in playback mode, when we're using the menus, when we're reviewing images, or when we're just shooting normally in standby timer mode. So we can set different periods before the camera will go into standby mode for each of those scenarios. To tweak the settings, we go into the custom setting menu and we look for option C3, power off delay. When you go into option C3, you'll see 4 settings for each of playback, menus, image review and standby timer. And if you go into each of those, you can set the setting from a small number of settings up to infinite, so the camera doesn't turn off. The default settings are 10 seconds for playback, 1 minute for when you're using the menus, 4 seconds for image review and 30 seconds for when you're in normal shooting mode. At each of these points you'll see the screens then grey slightly and then go into standby mode, and you reactivate the camera by pressing the shutter release button. For me, I don't tend to use the playback functionality in the camera. Equally, I don't tend to look at image review. Where I have tweaked the settings is in menus, and I've reduced it from 1 minute to 30 seconds to just conserve a little bit of power when I'm using menus. And I've changed the standby timer on my Z6, which I use predominantly for these talking heads videos. I've changed that to infinite so it doesn't turn off when I've paused and I'm thinking about something. On my Z7, I pretty much have the standard settings, but I've changed the menus down to 30 seconds. It is, of course, personal preference, but one of the things you will find quite useful is if you can get these settings right, then if you're carrying your camera and you're out shooting, actually you don't need to keep turning it on and off using the on-off switch. You can allow the camera to go into standby mode, because then it's much quicker to reactivate the camera, because all you've got to do is press the shutter release half down and the camera comes back to life. So I hope you found this video useful. It's just a quick one this week, so if you did, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos, and let us know in the comments below, how are you using power off delay? Where do you have it set? And do you tend to turn your camera off and on using the switch, or do you allow it to go into standby mode?